Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm making a fairly simple card but doing some Noline coloring, and this time I'm using the Pig's Happy Holiday by Mama Elephant. I got this stem set for my Christmas from my mother-in-law, and I truly adore the fact that I got this one. Also the dies. It's one of those stem sets by Mama Elephant that I have been wanting for so long, so I'm so happy that I got it now. And this is also the image where I was talking about in my last Noline coloring video with Copic markers. This was my first image that I tried out this year doing some Noline coloring, and when you compare it with the other one, being by my favorite things with the air balloon, if you remember, this one is fairly simple in my opinion. There are a few details, but aside from underneath the bow, in my opinion, there aren't many details to this image, which makes it easier to do Noline coloring with Copic markers. I try to avoid doing images with lots of details because Copic markers have a thicker point, the brush of it. Of course, as I said earlier, there is also the option to change one of the nibs and replacing it with a smaller tip, but that's a big investment if you want to do that for all your Copics, and I prefer investing in more stems, so I haven't bought any bullet tips for my markers. So what I did here, and it was quite difficult because it was the first time, and I always try to do it directly on video for perhaps the case that I like the end result, which was the case here. But I fiddled quite a bit to get this shadow going, and in my opinion this is sort of a snowball, but then again with the tie, with the knot in it, it looks like a bag with maybe lots of presents, I don't know, but since it's rounded, I just wanted to give it the color of some snowy things. So yeah, that's why I went for the G's for this one. I prefer using G000 and such for snow lately, instead of just the blues. I don't know why, but I like it. It's some sort of a minty, bluishy, greenish color, and I like it. But it took me a while to get the shadows here. The rest of the shadowing went quite smoothly, if you can say that about Noline coloring with markers. In my opinion, it's not one of the easiest things. Noline coloring with distressings, for example, is way easier for me than this, but we can only learn when we try. So that's what I'm doing here. Onto the bunny, it's going to be a brown one, and actually when I looked at the stem set, I thought that maybe some other images would also work for Noline coloring, maybe even all of them, but I don't know about all of them. But this card is going to get the Happy New Year script sentiment. I don't know, it's still January. In my opinion, you can say Happy New Year to everyone you see until the last day of January. But when February starts, I stop saying that. So for me, this can be a really late card for someone who sent me a card afterwards. And I run out of all my cards, so I could use this one. But if it's too late, then consider this one as being one for next year already, or this year already. Just being ahead of the game then. So I'm trying to some sort of have a light source coming from the upper left. There are places where it worked out better than others, but that's somehow how I am coloring in this image. So these Pig's Happy Holiday, one of my new stems now. I fell in love with it as soon as I actually got to know Mama Elephant. I think it's one of the older stamp sets by now, but I got the Pig's Favorite and I truly adore that one. And since then I also wanted this one, but then with all the new releases, you all know it, then the new releases come first. So this one just was sitting there on my wish list, but now I'm so happy. My mother-in-law couldn't have bought me a better gift than this set. She also bought me a new pack with Concord and 9th colors cardstock, which is funny because I just ordered some myself and it arrived just before Christmas as well. But that's good because in the mixed pack there are 2 sheets of each color, and yeah, lately I have been using those papers a lot, and today I will also. So I'm running out of them quite quickly, so now I have just a pack ready for whenever I need it. So I'm happy about that. So I'm almost done with the bunny. As you saw me doing, I took a MICRON Fineliner to add the nose and the eyes. I decided to do the nose black because it's a tiny nose, and I just think that when I do it in pink with the Noline coloring, it sort of gets lost in the whole face, and the black nose can work as well, so just doing that. And then this red really helped me with picking out the color that I was going to use for the background. So I'm basing myself on this outfit. Just a really vibrant, warm red. I used it a lot for my Christmas cards last year. I just love it. But then for the bow, I will use a lighter one, more a pastel-y one, because the snowball or the bag is also the mint color. And then normally when I have a Christmas hat and I have that white border that is normally fluffy in reality, I prefer using some stickles on there, but because of the Noline coloring and this fade out ink, there isn't any border actually, so I decided to use some gold grays for those white areas to give it a bit of a shadow but still keep it quite soft. So I'm just using my C3 and C0. And I'm trying to shade it. So as you see me color this in, I think that you quite understand what I mean with some sort of a simple image. Just to keep it simple for your markers. Of course, if you are very skilled, you just do whatever you do or whatever you want to do or can do. But for me, I'm really picking the images that I use. It's the same when I'm doing Noline coloring with distress inks. There are just some stamps that I would never do Noline coloring, not that it's not pretty, but just because I don't know how to tackle it. And then we need to be smart and just go over our stamps and see which one would work or which one you're comfortable with. So yeah, I put in quite an effort to get this image going. I was really happy with the end result, but then however I decided that I was going to add some more dimension using some pencils. So you saw me doing it also in my previous video. I will look up the pencil colors that I think work. I just write them down and then I take them to help me most of the time with transition. If I don't have a dark color that I wanted to have and my pencils have it, then I also take that, but I don't think I did that on this image. So that's how I currently do the Noline coloring with markers. And I have been liking it so far, so maybe I try one of the other bunnies as well. But then of course we are being ahead of time because, well, they won't go out before the end of January, so then it's already for Christmas or New Year's or whatever occasion I'm making it for 2021. So we will see about that, but it's something that is in my mind to do. I'm also contemplating to try it with the Fix Favorites that I already had, but I don't have the dies for those, so I need to buy the dies, or I need to figure out what I want to make and then do a one layer, but I'm not that far yet. So this is my image with the Copics, and then I'm taking my bullet journal that isn't a bullet journal, and I will just compare it next to all the colors that I've swatched out. Something really important when you are coloring with the pencils on top of it, I discovered, and I also heard it from a lot of people, but I of course tried it out myself, is that you really need to sharpen your pencils. Make sure that you have a really fine tip and that you can add a lot of color with barely any pressure, or that you can also add a lot of color with a lot of pressure. It's just how you want it to. But I also tried it without sharpening my pencils, and I must admit it's a pain. So just sharpen the pencil. And something that I also learned was that I need to sharpen it regularly, not while coloring, because adding a bit more dimension or definition or shadows with the pencils after using your markers isn't the hardest job. But after I color my images with the pencils, I am sharpening it when the card is finished, because I didn't sharpen my pencils before I started on this image. So I did that for this image alone, and then I tried the other card that I already shared, and I had to sharpen so many pencils that I just thought, okay, I'm just going to do everything, and then I ended up with blisters. Yes, but I have the set of 120 Polychromos, so I sharpened 120 pencils, and it was a pain, but now I'm just going to do that systematically, so that's not going to happen again. But just so you know, warning. Also about the pencils, I also said it in my previous video, you don't need the big set to do this. Of course, there are, in some occasions, it's handy to have a lot of varieties in different tones and such, so that you can easily choose your mid-tone or whatever you want to look for. But if this is the only thing that you're going to do with those pencils, then it's a huge investment for only a little return, my opinion. I bought the pencils because I wanted to do some coloring with pencils as well. I shared a few videos with it. I still need to practice more, and that's why that's sort of in the background now. But I also bought these pencils at a time when I had a huge discount. There was a store doing a huge discount on it. Now they don't sell it anymore. But that was the only reason why I decided on going through with it, because this is a huge investment, and definitely if you're not used to color with pencils like I was, then you just don't invest that amount of money all at once without knowing whether it's your thing or not. So just be aware of that. And if you lighten your pressure, you can really get a lot of gradients with fewer pencils. Just so you know. So I used the matching dies to cut it out, and I used the basic rectangles by Mama Elephant to cut out an A2 size panel of Cranberry colored cardstock by Concord in 9th. Now I am going to use this amazing Happy New Year's Wishes stamp sets, and I'm going to white heat emboss this gorgeous big Happy New Year, because the image itself took a while, and personally it happens a lot when I do Noline coloring that I'm like, I put so much effort in it, I don't want the rest of the card to take away from the effort of the image, you know? So that's why I actually go for sort of a cast card today, but then with no line coloring. So I don't know if you still call it cast. In my opinion, it still counts. But then some people would say, but that's not simple. But it looks simple. For some people who don't know how we make these cards, they don't know about the effort we put into it. But yeah, I'm just adding my embossing powder. This one is from NUVO. It's the Glacier White. I use this one because it dries really smoothly and I just wanted a smooth card today. So just the white popping off from the red. And once I have removed all the excess embossing powder, which took me a bit of time, although I prepped it, there are no guarantees. Just take a dry paintbrush and go there where the embossing powder is bothering you. And then I am using my heat gun and I'm going to completely melt it. If you have trouble with your embossing powder, especially this one, because I don't really have trouble with it, make sure to heat your heat gun before you go to your card with it. And then I always start on the back of my panel to see if it's heated enough, because you will immediately see some warping of the heat. And then I go to the front. If it's not heated enough and you start heating your embossing powder, sometimes you can overheat it and then you have some splotchy end results. I still have it sometimes, but then afterwards I'm like, yeah, but I heated it for too long, you know. So try to avoid that maybe. In other cases, I also have some embossing powders that I have them here in my drawer and I just don't use them because each time I use them, the result is not how it should be. So there are also those embossing powders, of course, but those I am not using. I only use what I like and I will only show you the products that I'm happy with. I think that's a fair deal. So I have heat set this sentiment and now I am going to buff off the excess. There was a hair in the white, but I don't know how, so I tried to remove it with my tweezers. Buffing off the excess from the anti-static powder tool, and now I'm going to do some ink blending. So I masked off the stitch details, you know me, and I'm just adding a bit of the Unicorn Hero Arts pigment ink on the bottom, trying to create some sort of gradient fading into the red. This card actually was inspired by a card that I made for the Crafty Meraki design team. As you probably know, this is January and Crafty Meraki has a release month. This means that every Monday they are releasing new products and it's called this time the Meraki Hacks and it's truly amazing. And for the first week of this month I created some inspiration for you all. I have made videos of each card that I made and they are all displayed on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel. So if you haven't watched it yet, there are a lot of videos over there, definitely this month, with all the inspiration. Also no line coloring with distress inks, some Copic coloring. I try to do a bit of everything. So yeah, definitely check it out if you don't want to miss a video of me. It's exclusively on their channel because there was just too much. I couldn't fix it to have it on both channels, so just so you know. But actually I sort of created this background, also the splatters and such, on a black cardstock. And I also really liked it, that's why I am repeating myself. But this time with reds, and of course I'm not using Crafty Meraki stuff today. I did there and really gorgeous products. So that being said, that was my inspiration. So I got inspired by one of my own cards, and actually it surprised me, but I am really happy with it. So yeah, today I'm using other products, but that doesn't mean that your idea cannot work for these products. So I'm slowly removing my purple tape, and now you can see that red popping, also no splatters on the edge because I kept it masked off while I was splattering. And that is my background. So I set it aside to dry, and once it was dry I could continue by adding my bunny on top of it. Therefore I'm using some thin foam squares today. What else? And I'm just placing it on the right bottom corner. And once that's on there, I decided that maybe I could try to add some embellishments. So therefore I ended up with the moonstones by Little Things from Lucy's cards, and I just scattered a few of them around. And the ones I was happy, I adhered them using my Gina K Designs Connect glue. And then the only thing that was left to do was to add this panel to a card base, and that I did with the Paradise adhesive roller. So nothing fancy for the end of this card. I also really like these moonstones because the snowy or the white effect that is inside the moonstones, it reminded me of the grounding that I added, or the gradient that I created with the Unicorn Pigment ink by Hero Arts, and I think that's why it worked. So with the panel adhered to the card base, this one is finished. I'm going to show everything a bit closer as well, and then there will be some pictures of this card close up, and that will be it for today. I truly want to thank you all for stopping by and taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you liked the video and of course the end result, and that this video was useful for you to maybe start on no-line coloring with your Copic markers. If you don't want to do no-line coloring, you can of course use exactly the same colors and markers to do this with a black outline. So yeah, that's my card for today. I hope you have a wonderful day left, and I will be back soon with a new card. Bye!